Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Hello.
Carrie is over here working on geeky things, trying to make something work online, the hats that we wear in our business here. So today, our hat is going to be a fun hat. I think you're going to love our focus on today's live. So I'm going to start you off so that you can get your thinker going. And that is, today we're going to answer any questions that you have. So if you, not any question, but if you have painting related DIY questions, then we're going to answer those questions for you. And then I'm going to hand it over to Carrie, and she's going to do some of the businessy stuff that we've got going on over here. And then you guys can be thinking, and then type them in the chat. We're going to answer questions for 45 minutes. So let us know what you want to know about painting.
Yeah, and our focus today kind of came from, if you saw our reel that we shared the other day, that was a little bit of motivation for painters. If you are new to painting and you're nervous to start, or if you are trying some things and you're frustrated, we want to be able to help you with whatever you're running into. Are you bleeding under? Are you having trouble with anything? That's what we're here for. That's why we do these lives, is to help you out. So ask your questions, and we probably won't get to answer all of them live, but we always do go back and answer them after the live is over. Sometimes we chat about them, and sometimes we just run out of time because you guys ask so many questions. So start to post your questions, and we have a couple things to talk about. So we are on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturdays on YouTube, we release fun new project or technique or tip videos. And I'm going to say we are very close to hitting 15,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. And
give us some happy hands.
Yay! Well, and to subscribe. If you don't subscribe yet, once we hit 15,000, we are going to have a big sale that I already have planned. And
it's coming for us.
So it is coming soon. So go subscribe so we can get that sale.
Subscribe, ring the bell, do the things.
Yep. Yeah. So last week on our YouTube channel, we released a video where I showed you a couple of different ways how to use texture paste on your project. So I showed you how to put texture paste down and then paint over it, as well as how to add in a paint color to your texture paste and then do it. So this was all done through stencils and
all done with texture.
All done with texture. We used stripes to make frames. So we did a lot of really fun stuff.
Yeah, this is a really, really clever technique. Definitely want to check that out because, and so remember that our Saturday videos always surround a project. Not always, but I'm sure there's exceptions, but they always teach lessons. So we don't ever just be like, hey, let's just paint something pretty. We're like, oh, I'll bet somebody would want to know about this. Yeah. And then what can we paint to go with that, using maybe new stencils that we have, or that kind of thing. So that's what we always are doing.
Yes. And then this weekend, speaking of lessons, Steve just got done working on the editing for this video, and it is jam-packed. I'm using one stencil and painting it 6 different ways. So we are showing you how to fill in an area with different designs. We're doing different color schemes, so it's going to match
really cool.
Any of your decor, and just to kind of give you some ideas,
give a nudge
of things you can do. So this is one of the 6.
So this, if you can't tell, this is glitter through the stencil. So that is glitter dots, and they're so cute.
Yep. And so with this one, we show you how to do the dots without glitter, and then we show you how to do them with glitter. So there are options, and we're not going to show them the other ones. They're going to have to tune in on Saturday. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
And there are some super duper fun ones.
You guys, they're super clever.
Yeah, it was a fun project. Painting 6 signs took us all day.
All the daubers, all the palette.
Yes,
paper.
we used all of the daubers in the building. We used several sheets of palette paper, but you get to see 6 different designs on Saturday, and we're
techniques.
Super excited.
So the techniques are the thing. And then I don't think you shared base coating everything and all of that.
No,
right?
we already had them base coated, and we already had the main Happy Easter of it. stenciled.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
it's not going to be boring and long.
No, we show you how to fill in a couple of the bunnies, and then we show you the different ways to apply the different patterns.
Super, super great lesson. And it's timely because Easter.
It's Easter!
Speaking of Easter.
Speaking of Easter, today, which is February 6, 2024, we have one of our favorite Easter projects that you can get for free. So let me make sure that I tell you this correctly. This is our little Every Bunny Welcome Easter Bunny. It comes with everything but the cute little, the tail.
These are available on Amazon.
On Amazon. And if you add $50 worth of products to your cart today, and then add the Easter Bunny project, then you get it for free.
Whoa!
For free!
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
And this is a video as well. So this is something that doing this background plaid, this is a really cool technique because when you do the plaid one way, it makes this color, but then when you go over it this way, it makes that one darker, which makes it super pre-shaded. It's the neatest technique. This video is really cool. You will love it.
Yes. And then I think I only have one more thing. Our pre-order for the February 2024 project of the month ends on February 8th. So you
That's
only
Monday,
have
right?
February 8th. Today's the 6th.
Oh gosh.
So no.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So it ends on Thursday. Today is Tuesday, February 6th. So that pre-order ends on the 8th. So you only have a couple more days left to
You
pre-order
want to be
that.
a part of this. It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's seasonally appropriate.
It is.
So,
Super cute.
but not seasonally.
Not holiday.
It's not holiday related.
It can be.
It could be, yeah, but,
But
it's
it's
not,
not-
restricted to that.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Um,
how to say all those things?
so you'll just have to wait until you get it. To
I
see.
know. It's so exciting.
All right, that's all I've got.
Okay,
so
let's talk about questions.
questions. Deb says, I love
Hi, Deb.
both texture paste and gold foil. Could you use both together like on tea towel stripes?
Interesting. Deb. So texture paste and gold foil through your tea towel stripes. So you could use both with tea towel stripes, absolutely, because that's what your lesson was.
Yes, I think she means like, can you texture and then foil over it?
So that's that. I'm going to say no.
If you put the texture paste down and it dries, and then put the glue on top of the texture paste, then you can do it.
I think the problem is, so when you foil, something that is interesting, when you foil, you have to do at least 2 coats of your foiling medium, the sticky stuff, and then it will stick. But that's on a perfectly flat surface. So I think once you get texture on it, you're going to have a splotchy effect. So
Yeah,
I would say probably gold paint and not gold leaf.
Yes, I think that if you would do it, you would have to sand
Yeah.
quite a bit to make sure
Yes.
that it's smooth, and then you're going to take away from the texture.
Yeah, I think it would be more work than you would want to do. So I think leave the foiling out, or just use the tea towel stripe and put your band down, and then just don't texture that part. Would be fine. Yeah. So good question. Really good question. Interesting question.
Yes. Carol said, what would be the best glue to use for embellishments if you're going to put a project outside?
Ooh, outside is interesting. My favorite. I don't know where that came from. I like E6000 for like longevity type things. And then I love the snot out of the quick dry tacky glue for inside things. You didn't ask that, but I answered it anyway.
All right, let me share. Let's see. Someone let me. Oh, sorry. Vicky asked, what color is the green on the project? Vicky, I'm gonna have to
Probably can find it.
maybe that one.
16?
I don't know. I have to get into the video and check. We list all of our colors in the video. I do not know that off the top of my head.
I think it's either 16 or 19. There is no other paint in the store that it could be.
Yeah. So with that question being asked, let's talk about our 2 things. So first of all, on our YouTube channel, when you are watching our videos, there's a little description that tells you what's going on. And if you click more, and then I think you might have to click more again, depending on what kind of device you're looking at. But we have every color that we use. We have every product that we use. We have every collection that we talk about.
Yeah.
So we have it timestamped. So in the description on our YouTube,
So
you are
useful.
totally missing out if you're not looking at that, because we have links to every single thing we discuss and more information sometimes if we come up with something afterward.
Well, and, so on the lives, one of the things that we hear sometimes, and it's not frequently, but it's sometimes, we hear that we talk too much at the beginning. But we do that because this is a community and we want to have that community, like that's a verbal hug kind of thing, you know? So, but because of the timestamps, that you can go click into the meat of the video and you don't have to you don't have to wait around through that chit chat if you don't want to. So that's a great thing. And then on the color thing, don't forget about, if you're thinking about like, what do I want to spend $50 on to get the free bunny project? So these are our sheets that talk about the colors, and they convert from Deco Art Sherwin-Williams, and they go to the hex, which is your computer colors, and it tells you whether or not they are a warm or a cool. It tells you what family they live in. It tells you everything about these paints that we are using, so that if you don't want to do the Sherwin-Williams thing, you can do the Deco Art thing. Deco Art is a phenomenal paint line. We just paint too much to use it. I would be getting boxes from Deco Art daily because of how much painting we do. Like, she used 12 brushes and whatever for just that project over there. You know, it's a lot. Oh, and speaking of which, make sure that you have more than one of the jumbo daubers, the applicators, and the ink sweepers, because when you need these, you really need them. And you use the jumbo dauber because of the bunny hole being big. So when you have a larger opening, if you did this, you would create a bunch of polka dots all over your big bunny hole. That sounds wrong. But this will cover really quickly and evenly. So, but make sure that you have more than one, because you're going to want to have some that can be dirty and wet and drying. And then make sure that you have more than one set of brushes as well. Okay.
Back to the paint color.
This is Steve talking.
In the newer videos, if you look at the top left, a color swatch with the number will pop up as they're using a paint color.
Yes, Steve has been putting a honey bottle with paint in it with the number on it in the videos. It's super cool.
Let's see. When you stain a board, will the putty and shellac used to fix rough spots show through?
Good question.
That's from Carol.
Carol, good question. So I don't think I have experience in this since.
So I do.
Okay.
Steve and I both do. I'm going to say when you stain a board, you don't need to use shellac. Steve, can you hand me the one right behind you, the Rollinson?
Yep.
So the reason that you use, and the home one as well. So the reason that you use shellac is so that the sap does not come through on the knots like you see somewhere in the white project. When you are staining, you are not covering the knots. The stain, or like you're still going to see the knots through the stain. So you do not need to shellac under stain because you're not trying to hide them.
Well, and honestly, I wonder if the shellac wouldn't cause the stain from penetrating the same, and you would end up with like a hole, like a patch that it didn't stain as well. And then did she say something about wood filler or putty?
Wood filler,
Okay, so that's the part that I latched onto, the wood filler. I haven't wood filled a project in 20 years. I think it's been a really long time.
We've done wood filler on tissue boxes.
Really?
Yep, to
do the little
to cover up the tabs. Yeah. So I'm going to say you would not also want to wood fill if you are going to stain,
because it would show.
Yes. So if you're going to use a paint that's going to cover, then you can do those things. But if you're going to stain, both of those are probably going to stand out. The shellac has a little bit of a gloss.
So the stuff might sit on top.
I think that you would be able to see the shellac and the...
Yeah, it's a really good question.
My experience is I put shellac over the knots on a whiteboard, and when I painted the white over it, you could see a little bit of yellow streaks from the shellac. So you have to go heavy on white coats, because sometimes the you can see it's like a different
Like the
texture,
color, the texture.
kind of
Yeah.
yellows it a little bit.
Yeah. It's good.
We have had a couple requests
Okay.
today that on our videos, if we can list in the description the sizes of the products that we are using.
That's a good idea.
Some projects we have, some projects we don't. So I think that the times that we release a kit of something, then we'll typically release those in case you want to grab them individually. But like the project for this weekend and last weekend, I just went and grabbed a random piece of wood off of our stuff so that I could show you how you can make it work with stencils and
Any
surfaces
board,
that
yeah.
aren't.
So one of the things that we do, am I in this camera?
You're on, yeah, the double one.
So one of the things that we do on our website, and I think we've been doing it for a good long time, so it should be on StudioR12.com. It should be like this mostly because that website is newer than our other website. But we put the outside measurement of the stencil and very often the inside measurement of the artwork. So if you need something like that, and a lot of times it's also in our title. So if you have an 18 by 18 board, type in 18 by 18 and then like, reindeer, if you're wanting a reindeer thing or something, whatever your theme is that you want to do. So that's a way to do that, is to search by size. So, and that's, everybody say, thank you, Kathleen, because she works really hard to get all of that correct. And she's an amazing woman.
Deborah asked, could you use makeup sponges to paint?
Yes, you absolutely can. I might even
We have some somewhere in the building.
somewhere in here, maybe in the tool drawer. Makeup sponge. So with the makeup sponge, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of pinch it. And when you pinch it, it almost makes a little bit of a dauberish shape. And so when you do this, you're going to pounce, offload, and then you're going to fill in your shape. Now, where you get in trouble is this has a sharp edge, a corner, a sharp edge, a corner, on and on. And what happens when you do that is a lot of times that'll leave an imprint. So it's not optimal. And then you can also go this way, but make sure that you're doing this little pinch motion, and you can tap this way. This is less aggressive than this end, but I like this end better because it's firmer, if that makes sense. So that you can pull the sides together, and then you can do your little dauber effect. So these are good to have, and then you can wash these out, no soap, just water, rinse them, rinse them, rinse them, let them dry, reuse them, and then when you forget them or you just are in a hurry, and you just chuck them in the trash. So I try to get as many uses out of things as I can.
I think we're caught up right now.
Yay. Okay, I want to talk about some red. You guys keep asking the questions. I stumbled on this board. I not really stumbled, but saw it out in the sample area. This is the reds, and I think if I can pull it's going to probably be these two. Okay, so this is a red, and this is the burgundy red. Number 18 and number 63, if you have your color chart. And what we did is we did both reds over the board without anything under it to prime or anything like that. This is with a single coat. This is with double coats. So this doesn't look bad. This actually gets to a pretty nice red with just a couple coats. And then this covers pretty good. But then down here, this is with gray underneath. Red is a really strange pigment, and it has very, it doesn't have a lot of pigment in it, so it doesn't coat very well or cover, and then it borrows from other people. Like if you've got a brown background, it'll borrow characteristics. If you have white, it'll borrow from that. So it definitely needs a primer if you want some true color. So this is with gray underneath, and then you can see like the difference of this is a much lighter color than this guy up here, and the same here. So this is the grays, this is double coats, this is single coats. And then on your white, this is also a thing that is difficult to manage. This is two primed letters. See what the difference is between these two coats, and then this one is there. This is the gray underneath, way more consistent coverage. So we really do like a gray, and let's see what our gray. I would gray in probably 36. So 36 is about the middle of our scale. And there's our little card here. Oh, it was in here. There we are. Okay, so when you order your dome brushes as a set, you're going to get, it's only with the 5-piece set, I think. You're going to get a card in your package, and it's got color wheels so that you can look and use your color chart, and you'll know which family they belong to. Sometimes it's difficult to know that this particular orange color might be in the yellow family, but it might look a little orange, and sometimes it's nice to have hints, and that's what that information is for. But it also has a grayscale. This is as close to a 5 right there in the middle as you can get, and that means it's going to be neutral. So this is a handy tool, and it also has a ruler on it, and it has, I think it's in, use your glasses, inches and centimeters.
Cindy asked if it matters if the gray is warm or cool.
So Cindy, good advanced question. I think I remain neutral on that myself. I think a lot of grays are fairly neutral, but they could lean one way or the other. But if you were gonna do that, like, so sometimes you might, so say you had something that was going to react with red, and it was, say, it was a warm gray, and you don't like the look of it, just do a couple of extra coats. And the neat thing, writing newsletters about this stuff is so interesting, because I was writing about lettering and how lettering is such a terrible thing to do when you don't have a stencil, because you have to trace the lines, you have to transfer the lines, you have to fill in by hand, you have to be perfect about it. Like, the knowledge base is a lot. But with stencils, it's easy to do 2, 3, 4 coats, and it just takes a few extra minutes.
All right. Lucy said, I still have some paint color on my brushes after I wash them. Is that normal?
Yes. And so this is, we had our in-person event at Boardroom for last fall. I think it was fall, right? Mm-hmm. September, maybe? Was it October?
It was October.
Okay. Anyway, so we took all of our brushes from here over to the other building, and we used them over there. And then some of their brushes were really like 5 years old, and so we worked through them and kind of got rid of things that needed to be recycled. So we gave ourselves all new brushes. So a lot of these have only been used like 1 or 2 times, because we have a few hundred. But this is the stain. Some colors stain more, and so you're going to see that pigment still in there. Excuse me. And so, yeah, sometimes you'll see what looks like paint, but if you're doing a good job of not picking up a lot of paint, if you're just dibbling into the edge and wiping it off, then you're going to get that. You're not going to have it down in the ferrule. The ferrule is the silver part.
Those are all my brushes. I pick up a lot of paint.
I think that's mine look like that too.
Let's see. Okay. Patty says,
Hi, Patty.
Hi, Patty. Why do I get leakage under my stencil sometimes?
Let's talk about that. So I have a board, and I have a used stencil. So this is the stencil that I used on the decoupage project. If you guys haven't seen decoupage, and we are about to bust out on some decoupage, so stay tuned for that. Huh?
Get ready.
I know, get ready. It's gonna be cool. Coolio. Okay, so first of all, anchor your stencil if you're not doing that already, and then let's get a color. Let's get white, just because it'll show well. So if you, and Patty, this is absolutely, I can usually bleed under my stencils if I hurry. The minute I put it into hurry mode is the minute I stop thinking correctly. And so that's when I can bleed. And so it even happens to us here. And so like that is something that happens. But so when I'm going to stencil, I'm not going to hurry. I'm always going to use the dome brush. Regular stencil brushes are shaped like this. And so when you push, can we pick it up on here? Will we be able to see? Okay. So when I push on here and I'm stippling, see how they kick out like that? So that is what makes you bleed under, because it's forcing the paint under the edge of the stencil. So what we want to do is not have that. And so the cut of the dome brush is perfectly done. And then these are super like firm bristles. They're packed really tight. I'm also going to only pick up a scant amount of paint. I don't want to use a ton of paint. So we don't want to, I'm going to show you the difference here. This one is incorrect and this one is correct. And I have seen a million people, like I've taught painting all over the country, even into Canada. So like I've seen a lot of painters do a lot of things, and this is common.
I do that.
Okay. So what, oh, hi, drippage. So if you do that, then you just have to come over to your paper towel and offload. Why did I pick white? Let me change the color. You can't see. First green color I came to. Okay, so number 43. All right, so if I have overzealously dipped my brush, then I can come over here and I can just wipe that off and then offload. Okay, so, but if I did it correctly by just pushing in to the edge of my paint, then it'll look like that. And then when I offload, I'll immediately have just a scant amount of paint on there. So I'm going to pick up white again because it will show on this board. Okay, so then the other thing is if you're overzealously stippling. So if you really go at it hard, don't need to do that. You can just tap, 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 tap. Now you might do 2 coats. You're not going to be exhausted. Stippling, firmly stippling especially, makes me exhausted. So I just don't like to do it. So I like little taps and it'll get the paint in there. It'll be fine. And then the other thing that you can do is do swirling. The swirling is something, how many of you are swirlers? Swirler. Okay, swirler alert.
Sounds like a weather thing.
I know, right? Okay, so swirling looks like this. And so I'm so lightly pressing. I am like, you can't even almost tell what I'm doing here. But if I did it really strong, then it would make all kinds of a mess on there. So don't want to do that strong. You just want to do light coverage.
So when you're swirling, I have 2 tips for you to let you know if you have too much paint on your brush. So the first one is once you put the paint on your brush, you can wipe it on your hand. And when you wipe it on your hand, if it looks wet and goopy like it does on the paper towel, then that is too much paint and you need to swirl off some more. The second one is if you go to your project and you start swirling and you see swirl marks through your stencil, that means you have too much paint.
Really
it should be very soft and dusty and not look wet and not have swirl marks.
Let's do that after the live, and I'll get a picture of it. That way I can show an example.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and so if I can base coat my hand when I just, so and you can do it on the back of your hand. The other thing that I do is when I start, so I've just loaded my brush, offload 5 to 10 times. I change the number like every time I talk about it, so like whatevs. But so if I start my swirl, instead of starting like this, because I can make some big damage go on there. See if that bled under. It didn't bleed under because the dome brush is amazing. But I mean, I tried. Did you see me? Anyway, so when I start, I go light touch. So you saw what heavy looked like, but you can also see those swirls right there. Okay, so I'm just doing a light dusting of the paint. So that is the best way to do that. So controlling your paint, controlling your pressure. And
yeah,
we'll play with our hands.
So we have a lot of swirlers. Sue,
Yay!
Carol, Christine is a swirler trained by us. Debbie's a swirler.
Do you know that swirling, I don't think is on many stencil sites. It's actually really amazing. Everybody's still stippling and like they just, you guys just educate them.
Yeah, let them know. Henry is a stippler.
Okay.
So I I do both. So I will typically swirl my first couple of layers, and it also depends on what kind of project I'm doing. So I talk about that this weekend, that in a couple of them I stippled. If you are doing black on top of a white background, you typically want it to be really bold. And that's why you're choosing those colors. So to get my black as bold as I want it, I will likely stipple my last layer just to make it pop. But then you have to be careful, because then you have more paint on your brush, you have more paint on your project. You're probably ready to get it done because you're on your fifth layer.
Hurrying.
So,
yes.
Okay. Wait a second. I have another question from Henry. Henry said, what is the right technique to stencil using silk screen stencils?
Silk screen stencils is not a stipple. I've silk screen stenciled? Probably 12 times in my life. Not very many times, but the applicator is generally speaking a palette knife credit card applicator from the company that you get them from, room key from a hotel stay. And so if you were doing this with a silk screen, you're going to pick up your paint, and they use very specific paints, and I don't know about this, but you apply it this way through the silk screen, and then it covers and coats and does all the things. But it's definitely not the same as stenciling. Silk screen is an amazing thing when it's not amazing. The thickness of the medium, the drying time of the medium, the interfering with other wet things on your medium. There's a whole lot of things you got to know about. I'm not the person to teach that.
We also have a lot of people saying that they also do a combo. There are times when I stipple, depends on the project. I'm a combo girl, depending on the project. I start with the swirl, then need to stipple the last coat. I do both depending. So we have some back and forth. Blake, our friend Blake, said that he swirled for the most part, had no clue what swirling was before he came here. And he stipples every once in a while, depending on the project.
Yeah, and I find that on the skinny stuff, so on like this little thin tendril of this leaf, I find that I have to stipple that because and also you can downsize your brushes. You will almost always see me in a big brush because I'm always in a hurry. And so if I'm swirling with a great big brush, these amount of bristles aren't going to kind of dig in there. But if I have a little brush, and I don't even have little brushes in
because
there.
we got them all out for
Like
a fun thing we're going to do later.
We're going to do a really fun thing when we go have lunch. Where are you guys eating lunch?
I do talk about that this weekend as well, about the different size, not what you're doing for lunch, but the different size of brushes. And when you're using different sizes of stencils, why that might change the size of
but
brush.
if you stipple this hole, it will go through the hole better than if you swirl. So, but in the big holes, I sometimes in really big areas, I want to be really careful that I don't rip around and do things. So like this is medium, but if I had like bunny, the bunny hole, give me the glitter one. So if I had a large area like this guy, then if I'm stippling on this, you can see I'm going to be making a lot of polka dots. Then I'm going to switch to my dauber because that dauber is going to cover in just like 6 plops. It's a bunny plop.
Plop. That's a little bunny plop. All right. I think that we are caught up.
All right. Well, I think that this was a fun adventure through interesting questions. I love getting these questions. Make sure that if you're catching this after this date, which we're the 5th?
Today's the 6th.
6th? I don't know.
We're just going to, you need to just quit with the dates. No more dates for Patty.
Carrie, date me. All right, so we want to still hear your questions, even if you came to this after that date, whatever that date is. And always on all of our videos, ask questions. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell to get notified when we have new content. And we will see you Saturday.
With lots of projects.
Yeah, it's so fun. See you then.